Okay, we are going to start. So before we start, just wanted to make sure that everyone is able to view the screen which is shared online.
Yes, sir.
Great. And are you able to hear me well?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So we will start right away. And thank you very much for showing up this early. But the good thing about having an early class is that it finishes early part of the day and you have the rest of the day to do whatever you want to do. Welcome to Applied Probability. So this course is a core course for computer science graduate students, although a lot of undergraduates and students from other schools, they also have taken it previously. I'm not sure what's the spread or diversity of the students taking this course, but I'm assuming that there will be some people taking it from econ maths. There are some math majors, some electrical engineering majors, computer science undergraduates and graduates, and so on and so forth. So this is a course which is not the first course in probability. You should have some background in probability. You should have probably taken a course before this in your undergraduate studies, whether you are an undergrad student or a grad student. So we'll just get some of the administrative stuff right out of the way. So administrative stuff. So first of all is about the site. So there is a course site, obviously, and the course site is on LMS. So everyone who has registered for the course, you should also have this course appearing in your LMS. If you have recently registered, it might take a little bit, probably takes a day or so for the course to appear in your LMS portfolio, but the course should be there. We already have the course outline available on an LMS. Course outline is available. We will also put copies of the recommended books. There is no required book, but we do have recommended books for the course. We will upload the copies of those recommended books onto LMS, so you will have a soft copy of those books to take a look at and attempt some topics and problems from those books. In addition to LMS, we also will heavily use what we call Piazza. If you have used Piazza before, you would probably be able to appreciate the utility of this. So this site, Piazza, is for class-related discussions. For class-related discussions. Okay. So you will need to sign up for the class. We have provided the link to Piazza website onto LMS. So if you open LMS and go to this course site, the main page of the course site will have a link to Piazza. If you click on that, you would just be taken to the Piazza site where you will have to join this class. So just join the class and you should be able to ready to communicate with others. The great thing about Piazza is that you are able to post a question and everyone else in the class is able to see that and they can try to answer that question. So this way you are not, you are more engaged with the rest of the class in discussions, especially in the circumstances where the course is online. It is important that people are able to communicate with each other in an effective way. So there are prerequisites for this course. The prereq for this course is that you should know basic calculus and basic probability. So if you took the probability course a while back, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, that's okay. As long as you understand some of the concepts and, quickly revise those. The first part of the course will focus on revising the concepts from the basic probability. And the second part of the course would be covering more advanced and applied topics. The examples that we are going to use, we will try that most of those examples, maybe not all of those examples, but most of those examples are taken from applied areas in engineering and science. Okay. We do have 2 TAs for the course, and both of the TAs, they have taken the course last year in an online setting, so they are familiar with the structure of the course offered in the online setting. So one TA is Hassan Adnan Sayyed, and the other TA is Sarah Jabin. Any of the TAs available at this time? Sarah or Hassan, are you here?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Sir,
Okay.
am I audible?
Ji. Thank you,
Hello.
Hassan. So the least interesting part for me and the most interesting part for you for the course is grading. Okay. So there is grading in the course. I don't like to do that, but unfortunately we have to do the grading. My main purpose of teaching the course is be able to impart the knowledge and share what I understand with you, so that you also understand some of those concepts and use those in different fields in your research, in your work. We have an online setting, so we will not have a midterm. There is no midterm. And since this is an online course, we cannot have one instrument with a high concentration of the grade. So we cannot have a 60% grade going to a final. So final will be a small percentage, maybe about 20% type of thing. We do have homeworks, quizzes, as well as the finals. So we have homeworks. So about, approximately 6 to 8 homeworks. So every 10 days or 2 weeks, we'll have a homework. If there are more than 8 homeworks, please don't blame me. And that would probably mean that I have divided the questions into more homework. So we'll give you a similar number of problems anyway. If there are fewer homeworks, those homeworks are going to be heavier ones. So homeworks, each homework has approximately 2% of the grade. Approximately 2% of the grade. So approximately 15% of the grade is going to homeworks. And the homeworks, since our goal is not getting the grade, but it's being able to learn the material which is taught in the course. So what we are going to do is that we will allow 5 students, up to 5 students, to submit a single write-up. So 5 लोग collaborate कर सकते हैं and they can submit a single homework which is acceptable to us. That does not mean that you divide the questions into 5 and if there are 10 questions in the homework or 15 questions in the homework, so each person will do 2 or 3 questions. That is not the purpose. The purpose is that these 5 students are able to work together, discuss all the problems among themselves, and in the end it is perfectly all right if one student writes up 2 or 3 problems. Each student writes up 2 or 3 problems and you submit 10 or 15 problems, whatever is the number in the homework. But you should be able to understand the rest of the problems in the homework as well. So maybe as a member of a group of 5, you have only solved 2 questions, you have only written 2 questions or 3 questions, but you should have knowledge of all of those questions appearing on the homework. So so collaborate with each other. Even outside the group, it is perfectly all right to collaborate with other students outside the group. In fact, the Piazza platform will facilitate this. You know, ask any questions about the homework as you will. Okay. In addition to the homework, we have a final exam. And the final exam, as I said, that we, in an online setting, we cannot have a single instrument with very high percentage grade point. So this is going to be a comprehensive. Oops. Comprehensive final, which means everything that we study throughout the semester will be included in the final. Okay. And then this final will be during the allocated time by the registrar's office, by the RO. And this time should appear in your Zambil portfolio. वहाँ पे लिखा होगा कि what time is the final exam. We will not change the time of the final exam. We will just take the final exam during that time. Okay, there will be no exceptions to that. We cannot have multiple final exams. It takes a very long time to make a final, especially in an online setting. You know, sometimes 3-4 days, as long as 3-4 days to make a final, which is error free and you know, is something which is suitable for solving online and submitting the solutions online. So we are not going to have multiple finals. Just be prepared. If there is a clash with the final exam of another course, we would suggest that you resolve it right away. I am not going to accommodate final exams outside the allocated time. So this would be about 20 to 25%, maybe close to 20%, of the grade. It depends upon how many homeworks we have and how many quizzes do we have. So we will have quizzes, and these quizzes will be weekly quizzes, almost weekly quizzes. So about 9 to 12 quizzes in all. And each quiz will have about, you know, 7% or, you know, approximately 7% of the grade. Approximately 6, 7, 8% of the grade. Okay. And these quizzes, since the course is online, these quizzes would be online on LMS. These quizzes would be online on LMS. Okay. And these would be timed with random access. Random access means that once you complete a question, you can always go back to that question. I might change this random access to linear access, you know, if we feel the need to do so. So, so this would be approximately 65% of the grade. 65% of the grade, approximately. For the quizzes, we do know that things happen. You know, internet fails. You know, somebody gets sick. Somebody is getting married or anything. So we do understand those situations. So we will use the N-2 policy for quizzes. What that means is that your 2 least scoring quizzes will get dropped. 2 least scoring quizzes will get dropped. That does not mean that you miss the first 2 quizzes and bank on the rest of the quizzes. So it's important that you use those 2 flexible quizzes judiciously. In fact, we would suggest you take all the quizzes and just leave it up to the nature that which 2 quizzes would get dropped. Okay. The reason that we also use this N-2 policy is to avoid you the hassle of going through the petitions. So sometimes when you miss a quiz or a homework, you have to go and file a petition. There is some paperwork that you need to do with the Office of Student Affairs. As long as you are not missing more than 2 quizzes, I don't feel the need that you don't need to go through that paper. आपको उसकी जरूरत ही नहीं, because 2 quizzes will automatically get dropped. If, however, you want to use the petition, if you miss a quiz for any reason and you want to use the petition with the Office of Student Affairs, then we are not going to apply the N-2 policy in your case. We will then count all the quizzes, or एक quiz या 2 quiz या 3 quiz, जितने में भी OSA ने आपकी petition approve की है, तो वो हम petition use करेंगे. But from my experience, I have felt that N-2 is a reasonably generous policy. Don't ask us to change it to N-3 or N-4 or N-6. We are not going to change that. If you are missing more than 2 quizzes, just go to OSA, file the petition, and if they approve the petition, we will just take their word. If you are not missing any quizzes, or 1 or even 2 quizzes, then don't need to go to the paperwork. Oh, by the way, for the homeworks also, we will use the N-1 policy. N-1 policy. So most of the questions that we will give you on the homeworks will be related to the material that we will cover in the preceding days of the courses. So the books that we are going to closely follow, not entirely follow. There is no one single book that we will be following. There is just variety of topics that we will be covering. As I said, that the first part of the course is going to focus on the revision of the material from a basic probability course. Some of the students may have taken a course with me or somebody else at LUMS. So it would just be an accelerated coverage of the same course, which is Math 230. It's a basic probability course taught at LUMS. So we will make all of the class notes, or maybe in a better form, available to all of you via LMS. Okay, but the books that we are going to follow, closely follow, but not precisely, would be the first book is going to be. It's a very nice, well-written book which we teach in the first course in probability, the Math 230 course. कोई भी undergraduate course probability का होगा, उसमें ये या इसके equivalent कोई किताब इस्तेमाल करते हैं. This is called a first course in probability by Sheldon Ross. So we will use this book. This one is better. The second book that we are going to use is Intro to Probability and Statistics for engineers and scientists. For engineers and scientists. This is also by Sheldon Ross. Very well written books, both of them. Reasonably well read. There are some topics that require more attention, but we will go over those anyway. Okay. There is a third book that we are going to use. It's called Performance Modeling of Computer Systems. This is by Harkol-Balder. And this book will be used mostly for Markov chains that we will cover in the last part of the course. Mostly for Markov chains, later part of the course. Last 20%, 10 to 20% of the course will be about Markov chains, and this book will be very useful for that. Okay. We will use the honor code for this course and any other course that you take at LUMS. What that means is for homeworks, we allow collaboration. We encourage collaboration, and we encourage collaboration. Of course, in your group, if you are submitting a homework with other people, we have allowed a group of 5 people, and also with other students who may or may not be in your group. But we advise you to not do a blatant copy. There is no need to do that. Homework is only 1-2%, and if you are doing a copy, there is really not anything that you are gaining. So try to understand the question. It is okay to take a look at the solutions after you have attempted those. Okay, it is perfectly all right to take a look at the solutions online. I'm sure the questions that we will provide you, the solutions will be somewhere online. It is okay to look at those solutions, but we strongly suggest you that before you look at the solutions, try to attempt the questions yourself. Spend some time with the questions, thinking about those questions. Otherwise, there is no point in taking the course. Many of you, I understand, might be taking the course, as a building ground for areas such as machine learning and data science. It is especially important for those people to understand these concepts right away. So you will not have the time to learn these concepts in those more advanced courses in machine learning and data science. All the quizzes are online, as I have said. Quizzes and final, they are online. There is no collaboration allowed on those. No collaboration allowed. No collaboration. No WhatsApp. You cannot even ask somebody if they have finished the exam or quiz. ये भी नहीं पूछ सकते. So just please respect those boundaries. Other than that, you guys are adult enough to guide your own learning. So I'm going to start with the material. If there is any questions about the administrative stuff, please ask right now. जी बिलाल.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर.
वालेकुम सलाम.
और मैंने ये पूछना था कि होमवर्क में 5 से कम बंदे भी हो सकते हैं या अकेले भी कर सकते हैं?
up to 5 है, तो एक अकेले भी कर सकते हैं, कोई मसला नहीं. ठीक है. So there is one more thing.
क्वेश्चन पूछना था.
जी वकास.
आसान सर, ये रिसोर्सेज में हमें ये बुक्स वगैरह भी एलएमएस पे अवेलेबल होंगी?
जी कर देंगे जी.
थैंक यू सर.
जी. Any other questions about the administrative stuff? So there is one more important thing about the administrative stuff that I wanted to share is about the timing for the quizzes. For the quizzes, we will have the quizzes outside the class. उसके लिए 15-20 मिनट हमें चाहिए होंगे, and there is about 10 quizzes, so about 1.5-2 hours, maybe 3 hours, something like that. And this will account for a substitute midterm. Since we do not have a midterm के लिए भी, generally when we take the midterm, I take the midterm outside the class, which is 3 hours long. So I would just assume that I have divided the midterm time into 8 or 10 different quizzes. We will need to decide a time on the quiz. We'll run a poll for that. उसके लिए एक poll run करेंगे. So it would be either Sunday evening or Monday evening. Sunday or Monday evening. So I do understand that there are classes Monday evening because the university has extended the times to accommodate for some of the in-person classes. So Sunday or Monday evening. If this time doesn't suit you, then maybe you need to find a different class जिसके लिए आपके पास time ज़्यादा. So I don't want to hear कि जी हमारा weekend खराब कर दिया. Students के weekend जो है उसके ऊपर exams होते हैं, कोई उसमें issue नहीं है. If you have a problem with that, this is not the place and time to discuss. आप outside discuss कर सकते हैं. Okay. So I'm going to start with the material. What is probability? So very quick, review of what is probability. So anyone wants to give an answer to that? What is probability? Probability क्या चीज होती है?
Chance of occurrence something.
Chance of happening something. Just raise your hand and I will call you.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Sorry.
जी no problem. कोई मसला नहीं. कोई और आंसर करना चाहते हैं? Anyone else who wants to answer this? Just please raise your hand. जी अखिल. Akhil,
chances of occurrence.
Chances of occurrence of something. जी Usama.
So basically, it's a real valued function, a probability function, from a set of possible outcomes to values between 0 and 1.
That is also fine. So ये सारी definitions जो हैं ये ठीक है. So one way of looking at probability is the frequentist definition. Frequentist definition. What is this frequentist definition? Frequentist definition का मतलब ये है कि how many times something happens when you perform an experiment. मिसाल के तौर पे एक dice roll करते हैं, Ludo, you know, I'm sure everyone has played Ludo or know about Ludo, अगर खेली नहीं है तो उसके बारे में पता है. If you roll a dice, how many times 6 appears? सब easily कह देते हैं कि यार 1/6 is the probability that 6 will appear. What does that mean? What that really means is that if you roll the dice an infinite number of times, a very, very large number of times, 1/6 of the time, 1/6 of the time you will see the number 6, 1/6 of the time you will see the number 4, 1/6 of the time you will see the number 2, and so on and so forth. Okay. So frequentist definition हमें ये बताती है कि in a long run of repeated random experiments, long run of repeated random experiment, in a long run of repeated random experiments, number of times something happens. So that defines the probability. If something happens very, very rarely, so probability would be low. If something happens more frequently, the probability would be high. Okay. So that's the frequentist definition. There is another subjective interpretation and belief, subjective definition or subjective interpretation and belief. So there are some things which you cannot perform repeatedly. So for example, Earth was separated from the sun. Iski kya probability? This is not an experiment that you can repeat. Or for example, which team will win the next cricket World Cup or football World Cup? Kaun ye jeetega? This is also not an experiment that you can repeat. Because next World Cup जो है वो बस एक ही होने वाला है 2022 वाला, you know, if it happens. So really, you know, the subjective interpretation is your belief. How likely is that something would happen or would have happened? What are the chances that Spain will win the next World Cup? So that's the subjective belief, subjective interpretation for the cases where you cannot perform the experiment, repeatedly. So if we look at any course in probability, this is a second course in probability, and it builds upon the first course, which we will review very quickly in the first half of the course. So if you look at any course in probability, so the course will be talking about, a lot of time you will be, if you have taken a course in probability, you might recall that you will be talking about coin flips. एक coin flip किया या 2 coin flip किए या 5 coin flip किए, कितने tails आ गए, कितने heads आ गए. So we'll talk about that a lot. We also talk about balls in bins or urns or boxes. एक ही बात है. Red balls and black balls and blue balls. Bins के अंदर पड़ी हुई हैं. Randomly pick a bin and randomly pick a ball. What is the probability the ball is blue? We always will be talking about that. We always will be talking about coin flips. And we also talk about a lot about the dice rolls. एक dice roll करें, what is the probability that you will see a number greater than 4? Roll 2 dice together, what is the probability that the sum of the faces that you will see is equal to 8? So these are the experiments that we will see a lot. Similarly, you will also see a lot of the probability questions will require you to deal with the playing cards. वो 52 cards अगर आपने कभी play किए हैं या देखे हैं, so picking a random card from a deck, एक deck of 52 cards है, एक deck of 52 cards है, उसमें से एक randomly card pick किया है. What is the probability that it is 6 of diamonds? It's 1 out of 52 because there is only 1 6 of diamonds in that deck. Yeah. So lots and lots of questions about probability are about coin flips or balls in the bins or dice rolls or picking a random card. So it seems that इनकी क्या utility है, इसकी क्या utility है? So the utility of this is just to teach you the methodology, how to do the counting, how to do the compute the probabilities in different situations, so that you can apply those principles, in some direct applications, in some useful real world applications. And there is a huge number of examples of real world applications as well. And this specific course is going to target those. Akil, आपका कोई सवाल है? Akil, do you have a question? Your hand is raised.
No.
Gigi, go ahead. Okay.
Yes, question. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Osama, you have a question? Your mic is unmute. नाराज हो गए Osama साहब, नहीं है question. चलें, कोई बात नहीं. So, I would suggest that whenever you have a question, just you can raise your hand and ask the question. Sometimes I am focusing on the screen where I'm writing and I'm unable to see if somebody has raised their hand. In that case, you can just go ahead and say, excuse me, and you can start talking. Other than if you are not talking, I would request everyone to keep the mics on mute to avoid any of the feedback. Akil, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Will you share these notes you are making on your screen?
Will I share these notes? Share कर लेंगे, कोई मसला नहीं. शेयर कर लेंगे, इससे बेहतर फॉर्म में शेयर कर लेंगे. ये तो मैं रफ नोट्स यहाँ पे ले रहा हूँ, जरा थोड़ी सी बेहतर फॉर्म में आपसे शेयर कर लेंगे. Okay,
thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so although these are abstract kind of situations, very boring, sometimes often students find them कि ये क्या हम point flip किए जा रहे हैं, ये क्या dice rolls किए जा रहे हैं, ये किस तरह का काम है. So although these are abstracted, non-practical sort of applications, although there are situations where these can be more practical. If you go to a gambling casino, dice roll से जो है वो कुछ games play कर रहे होते हैं. Playing card से जो है वो there is a famous game blackjack, वो playing card से खेल रहे होते हैं. So it's not completely non-practical, but for most people these might be non-practical situations. However, there will be very practical situations as well. So for example, you might ask question कि if I go to PDC, how many people will be waiting in line ahead of me? How many people will be waiting in line? What is the chance that I will have to wait more than 16 minutes in the queue in order to get the food from the PDC counter? Yeah. So queues in PDC or bank or Nadra office, dealing with those queues, how much time you would have to spend in the queue on average, and things like that, we can solve those problems by using probability theory. Similarly, web page requests at a website. So एक website के ऊपर अगर बहुत ज़्यादा requests चली जाएं, so there is a chance that the server will act up. It will not behave properly if there are too many requests coming in towards the web server. So in a small period of time, do you get too many requests or not? Similarly, another situation could be percentage of errors when you are sending the bits from one computer to another computer. So percentage errors when sending bits from one computer to the other, from one computer to the other. So एक कंप्यूटर से दूसरे कंप्यूटर में भेज रहे हैं, how many bit errors that you get. So if you are sending 100 bits, do you get 2 or 3 bits out of those in error? If you send 1,000,000 bits, how many bits would be in error? So that is an interesting question to ask with practical applications. Okay. Similarly, sales forecasting. Nobody would deny the applicability and usefulness of this. Sales forecasting and prediction. So let's say there is a Bata shoe store in Defense, and they have stocked some specific style of shoe in specific sizes. So they have to forecast what would be the sales so that they can stock up अपनी supply chain को जो है वो properly manage कर सकें. So they will need to do this forecasting. So, or if you go to Al Fatah store or Jalal San's, एक specific food item वहाँ पे खत्म हो जाएगी, कितनी देर में खत्म हो जाएगी, कितना टाइम लगेगा. If you can do the sales forecasting, you should be able to answer that and stock up on that item properly. So very real world application. So similarly, expected profit in a stock portfolio. आपने किसी कंपनी का स्टॉक खरीदा है जो स्टॉक एक्सचेंज के ऊपर लिस्टेड है, आपने उसका स्टॉक खरीदा है, what is the expected profit, and people deal with that all the time. जो स्टॉक ब्रोकर्स होते हैं वो उसके साथ हमेशा से कर रहे होते हैं. Similarly, the likelihood of an accident or the probability of an accident. गाड़ियों के कितने एक्सीडेंट होते हैं. So these insurance companies, for insurance purposes, आपको जो insurance premium देना होता है, if God forbid, if somebody runs into an accident, there is a large amount of money that could be spent. उस money को भी estimate करना कि एक accident event होता है तो उसके अंदर कितने पैसे on average जो है वो इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को पे करने पड़ते हैं. ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी डिसाइड्स कि लोगों से हमने कितना प्रीमियम लेना है. वो ऐसा नहीं होता कि वो आपसे प्रीमियम इतना ज्यादा ले लें कि वो गाड़ी की कीमत ही हो जाए. स्मॉल अमाउंट दैट दे टेक एंड they leverage the fact that you will not have everyone running into an accident. You will have a small number of people running into the accident, so that the money that you get from the other people, you can divide that money, you can disperse that money in the case an accident happens. So insurance companies, they will take the money, small amount of money from everyone, and those people, small number of people who run into an accident, insurance company, after their management fee, they will make some money out of that. So कुछ जो है वो वापस कर देंगे. कितना उन्हें प्रीमियम रखना चाहिए उसकी कैलकुलेशन, that is all based on likelihoods of accidents and the amount, the expected amount that they would need to pay in an accident. Okay. Similarly, chances of someone suffering from coronavirus. What are the chances that somebody would be suffering from that? Or the positivity rate. What are the chances that you pick a random person who has some symptoms and would test positive for coronavirus? So probability is, there are many real situations in which probability and probability theory can be applied. Very practical situations. अभी हमने बहुत सारी engineering applications का भी जिक्र ही नहीं किया है. But as we progress through the course, we will see that some of these applications will come up. Okay. So probability is really the chances that something or an event will occur. ये जो समथिंग है इसको मैं डिफाइन कर देता हूँ. दिस इज कॉल्ड एन इवेंट. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, if you roll a dice, you will see the number 6. If you see the number 6, that's an event. That is something that will occur. What are the chances that it will occur? Is 1 out of 6. 1 out of 6. Because the dice has 6 faces. उसके 6 faces हैं. So each one of them is equally likely. Is equally likely. So chances that something will occur. Something will occur. So I'll motivate this with an example. With an example. So let's say that you have 4 antennas. 4 antennas हैं. एक डिवाइस के ऊपर आपने को 4 एंटेनास लगा. So you have a device here, you have a device and you put those 4 antennas here. ये 4 antennas इसके ऊपर लगा देते हैं. So now if I tell you that exactly 2 are defective, 2 antennas are defective, तो ये इस डिवाइस के ऊपर हमने 4 एंटेनास लगा दिए. The device will work properly अगर चारों के चारों एंटेनास ठीक काम कर रहे हो तो डिवाइस विल वर्क. अगर एक एंटेना कोई खराब हो जाए तो डिवाइस फिर भी काम करता रहेगा. ठीक है. अगर 2 एंटेनास खराब हो शायद डिवाइस फिर भी काम कर दे, but the device will work properly if these 2 defective antennas, if the 2 defective antennas जो हमें पता है कि डिफेक्टिव हैं, antennas are not next to each other. Are not next to each other. Now I give you a situation. You take these 4 antennas and randomly put those on the device. ये डिवाइस के ऊपर हमने randomly जाके लगा दिए. एक लगा दिया, फिर दूसरा, फिर तीसरा और फिर चौथा लगा दिया. What is the probability? What is the chance that the device will work? So chance that device will work. So anyone wants to answer this question? Answers in the chat window. What is the chance that the device will work? Is the question clear to everyone? Anyone who is not clear about the question? हमारे पास 4 एंटेनास हैं जिनमें से 2 ठीक हैं, 2 खराब हैं. उनको रैंडमली उठा के डिवाइस पे लगा दिए और रैंडमली उनको डिवाइस पे लगाने के बाद हमने देखा है कि ये दोनों एंटेनास साथ साथ तो नहीं आ गए हैं. हो सकता है साथ साथ आ जाएं, हो सकता है ना साथ साथ आए. ठीक है. What are the chances? What are the chances that device will be working properly? And we do know that the device will work properly if the 2 defective antennas are not next to each other. Adjacent नहीं है. Adjacent नहीं है. If they are not adjacent or not next to each other, then the device will work properly. What are the chances that the device will work properly? In other words, what is the
0.5.
probability? Bilal, answers in the chat window. Answers in the chat window. What are the chances that the device will work properly? Or what is the probability that the device will be working properly? So, जरा आपने 6 का, so the chances cannot be more than 100%. 6 का मतलब है कि ये जरा ज्यादा हो गया है. So you cannot have the chance of anything occurring more than 100% of the time. Okay, so in order to answer this question, ये 4 एंटेनास हैं जिसमें से 2 खराब हैं. So इसको काउंट करना जो है वो कोई इतना मुश्किल काम नहीं. ठीक है. So let me just say कि 1 को मैं कह देता हूं कि ये गुड एंटेना है, गुड एंटेना, और 0 को मैं कह देता हूं कि दिस इज ए डिफेक्टिव एंटेना. अब 4 एंटेनास मैंने लगाने. I have 2 ones and 2 zeros. 2 are defective and 2 are working properly. So if 2 are defective and 2 are working properly, so क्या क्या possibilities हो सकती हैं? ऐसे हो सकता है 0 0 1 1. हो सकता है मैंने ऐसे रैंडमली लगाए, 2 डिफेक्टिव साथ आ गए, फिर उसके बाद एक नॉन डिफेक्टिव आया, फिर एक और नॉन डिफेक्टिव आया, ठीक है. और इट कुड बी 0 1 0 1, or it could be 0 1 1 0, or it could be 1 0 0 1, or it could be 1 0 1 0, or it could be 1 1 0 0. So first combination, will the device work? Will the device work? Yes or no? Answers in the
No.
chat window. Answers in the chat window, please. Will the device work? No, the device will not work. Second case, will the device work? Yes or no? Great. Everyone was saying it will work. Yes. Third case, the device will work. Yes or no? Somebody is saying no. 20 out of 20. No. Yes or no? The answer should be yes or no. So yes or no? So people are divided here. Well, see, these antennas, this guy here, if you look at this, the device does not work if the bad antennas or broken antennas are next to each other. This guy here and this guy here are not next to each other. They are far apart. So the device will still work. The device will still work. Any question on that? जिन लोगों ने no कहा था कि device काम नहीं करेगा. Do you guys have any question? इसके बारे में? No question. Okay. Similarly, इस केस में will the device work or not? It's not circular. It's not circular. Rana साहब, this is not circular. Okay. So एक डिवाइस पे बिल्कुल ये लाइन से लगे हुए, बिल्कुल इसी तरह जैसे मैंने इस फिगर में बना दिया. ठीक है. So if this guy is bad and this guy is bad, they are not adjacent to each other. It's not circular. ठीक. If they were circular, then this would be a problem. Okay. Are you guys still able to see the screen and listen to me?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, great. Because the lights just went off in SSC building, but I think the UPS is working, which is great. Okay. Fourth case, will the device be working? Yes or no? The device will not work. Fifth case, working or no? Yes or no? Yes. If so many people are saying yes, it must be right. Last case, working yes or no? No. Okay. Now, so whenever you put the antennas randomly, मैं randomly उनको उठा के device पे लगा देता हूं, तो ये 6 possibilities हैं. These are the 6 possibilities. Each one of these possibilities is equally likely. इस 6 के अलावा और कोई possibilities नहीं हो सकती. These are the only 6 possibilities. Okay? Out of these, if you look at it, कि ये वाली और ये वाली और ये वाली, 3 possibilities are the ones in which the device will be working properly. Which means कि if I place the antennas on the device, एक दफा place करूंगा तो मुझे नहीं पता वो काम करेगा या नहीं करेगा, डिपेंड करता है इन 6 में से कौन सी कॉम्बिनेशन आती है. ठीक है. But if I perform the experiment an infinite number of times, पहले मैंने ये 4 एंटेनास जो हैं वो डिवाइस पे प्लेस किए, एक दफा फिर रिपीट किया और हर बार टेस्ट करता गया कि डिवाइस काम कर रहा है या नहीं काम कर रहा. So on average 3 out of 6 times the device would be working. So वो जो हमारी frequentist definition of probability है, the frequentist definition of probability, which says that in a long run of repeated random experiments, the number of times something happens. So 3 out of 6 times, device will work. If I perform the experiment 6 million times, then 3 million times the device will be working. Okay? इसको मैं 6 million times अगर repeat करूं तो 3 million times, approximately 3 million times, device will be working. So the probability of the device that it will work is going to be 3 out of 6 or 50% और 1/2 और 0.5, ये सारे आंसर जिन लोगों ने दिए थे वो सब ठीक है। सो नाउ अभी 4 एंटेनास थे और उसमें से 2 डिफेक्टिव थे, तो ये मैंने उनको जो है ये 6 चीजें ये आउटलाइन कर दी, बड़ा इजीली जो है पेपर लिख दिया। if I tell you that there are 75 antennas and out of those 13 are defective, who would like to do the counting like this? ऐसे कौन काउंटिंग करना चाहेगा? कोई भी नहीं करना चाहेगा। So इसका मतलब ये, this example is telling us कि we have to have some effective way of counting। कोई हमारे पास एक effective counting का तरीका होना चाहिए, ठीक है? और वो effective counting का तरीका जो है उसके there are many methods that we have developed in the earlier courses. I'm just going to do a very quick review with 1 or 2 examples. जो हम आपके साथ कुछ नोट्स शेयर करेंगे उनमें जरा ज्यादा एग्जांपल्स होंगे, so if you need to revise in more detail you can go over those notes in more detail। क्लास के अंदर जो है वो हम एक आधी एग्जांपल ही करेंगे। so counting is important so that I can answer this questions कि अगर हमारे पास 75 एंटेनास हों जिसमें से 13 डिफेक्टिव हों और उनको मैं रैंडमली प्लेस कर दूं, एडजेसेंट एंटेनास एक दूसरे के साथ आ गए, अगर 2 इकट्ठे आ गए खराब एंटेनास तो डिवाइस काम करना छोड़ देगा। व्हाट इज द प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट द डिवाइस विल वर्क? उसका आंसर मैं ऐसे नहीं दे सकता जब तक I don't have an effective counting mechanism। So we will develop those counting mechanisms here। So the first one is called the basic counting principle। Basic counting principle क्या है? Basic counting principle is कि if there is one thing which happens in 5 ways and another thing which can happen in 10 ways, then if you perform both of those things together, एक एक्सपेरिमेंट की 5 आउटकम्स हो सकती हैं, 5 तरीकों से आ सकता है, दूसरा 10 तरीकों से आ सकता है, both of them together 5 times 10 ways में 50 times 50 ways में आ सकता है। Why? Because एक एक्सपेरिमेंट की हर आउटकम के लिए वो उसकी 10 दूसरी आउटकम होंगी। फॉर ईच ऑफ द 5 आउटकम्स वी विल हैव द 10 आउटकम्स ऑफ द अदर एक्सपेरिमेंट, सो 50 डिफरेंट फेज। उसकी एग्जांपल क्या है? एग्जांपल बड़ी सिंपल सी है। एग्जांपल से हम शो करेंगे कि एक डाइस रोल करें, कितनी आउटकम्स हैं, कितनी आपको फेसेस नजर आ सकते हैं जो ऊपर नजर आएंगे। So there are 6 possible outcomes। या आपको 1 नजर आएगा, या 2, या 3, या 4, या 5, या 6। So this is the set of all possible outcomes that you can see on the top when you roll a dice। एक डाइस को रोल करें तो ऊपर जो फेस आएगा वो इन 6 के अलावा और कुछ नहीं हो सकता, ठीक है? और इन 6 में से ही कोई आएगा। Similarly, toss a coin, so you will either see the tail or the head on the top, So the first experiment, rolling a dice, how many outcomes? 6 possible outcomes। Second experiment, tossing a coin, how many outcomes? 2 possible outcomes। If you perform both of these experiments together, आपने एक कॉइन लिया और एक डाइस लिया और दोनों को इकट्ठा रोल कर दिया, how many different possible outcomes? Answers in the chat window। 12 possible outcomes, not 8। क्योंकि टेल के साथ भी ये 6 की 6 आ सकती हैं और हेड के साथ भी ये 6 की 6 आ सकती हैं। So together 6 times 2 or 2 times 6 is equal to 12 possible outcomes। Does that make sense? एक छोटी सी क्विक एग्जांपल और कर लेते हैं। Another quick example, and this would be license plates क्या? ये आपके पास इस तरह से होती हैं, 3 लेटर्स होते हैं और 1 2 3 4 डिजिट्स होते हैं। So for example, LXF2991, this is the license plate number। एक गाड़ी के ऊपर ये license plate number। So कितनी total different number of plates हो सकती हैं हमारे पास? Assuming के 0 और 1 आपने डिसअलाउ कर दी। Assuming के 0 and 1 आपने डिसअलाउ कर दी। How many different license plates can be made if we disallow the digits 0 and 1? 0 and 1 disallow कर दें, ये फिर इसको 2996 कर देते हैं। 0 और 1 हमने disallow कर दिया। If we disallow 0 and 1, then each digit value, each digit position can take how many different values? Each digit position can take how many different values? 8 different values. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. ठीक है, वो 8 different values हैं, 0 और 1 नहीं उसमें आ सकते। ठीक है, how many different values the letters can take? ये letters कितनी values ले सकते हैं? 26 different values. So 26 times 26 times 26, ये पहली 3 आ गई, times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. So this is the total number of license plates that you can have. Total number of license plates you can have. Or if somebody has written, जैसे किसी ने chat window में लिखा है 8/4, this is correct. Thank you very much, everyone who have answered. Any questions on this? Good question. Basic counting principle. Basic counting principle khatam. Now we are going to talk about 2 more counting mechanisms. By the way, why are we doing these counting? Counting इसलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि ये हमने देखा था, ये एंटेनास वाला क्वेश्चन जो है, यहाँ तो हमने इसको मैनुअली कर लिया है, लेकिन अगर नंबर ऑफ एंटेनास बहुत ज्यादा हो जाते तो फिर then it would have been very difficult for us to do this manually. We would have to do it in some way, some systematic counting जिसके अंदर हम यूज कर सकते हैं. So another way to do the counting in some situations is it's called permutations. Permutations is also a facilitation for counting. Permutations. And what is permutations? Permutation is different ordered arrangement of objects. Different ordered arrangements of objects. ये ऑब्जेक्ट्स जो हैं ये डिस्टिंक्ट भी हो सकती हैं, सारी ऑब्जेक्ट्स एक दूसरे से फर्क हो, और इनमें से कुछ ऑब्जेक्ट्स जो हैं वो सिमिलर भी हो सकती हैं, कुछ ऑब्जेक्ट सिमिलर भी हो सकती हैं. सो हम 2 केसेस इसमें कंसीडर करेंगे. पहला केस है केस 1, ऑल ऑब्जेक्ट्स डिस्टिंक्ट. ऑल ऑब्जेक्ट्स डिस्टिंक्ट. If all objects are distinct, I will try to find the answer to this by an example. एक एग्जांपल है, तो आपके पास लेटर्स हैं P, Q, R. How many different ways I can arrange these letters P, Q, and R? How many different ways? Answers in the chat window. So people are saying 6, 3 factorial, 3 times 2 times 1. All of these answers are correct. So इनकी जो अरेंजमेंट है, आप यूं समझ लें कि हमारे पास ये P, Q, R हैं, इनको हमने 3 बॉक्सेस में रखना है. 3 बॉक्सेस में रखना है. इनमें से पहला वाला जो है बॉक्स, उसके अंदर 3 पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं. ये P आ जाएगा, या Q आ जाएगा, या R आ जाएगा. सो देयर आर 3 पॉसिबिलिटीज टू डू दिस. यहाँ पे बेसिक काउंटिंग प्रिंसिपल लगा लिया. ठीक है. फिर दूसरे बॉक्स में, पहला बॉक्स हमने भर दिया, दूसरे बॉक्स में भी तीनों आ सकते थे, लेकिन अगर हमने पहला वाला भर दिया है तो फिर दूसरे बॉक्स में वो लेटर नहीं आ सकता. So for example, if we put Q in the first box, then I cannot put Q in the second box as well. हमारे पास एक ही Q है. So this would be 2 times 1, which is equal to 3 factorial or 6. 3 factorial or 6. So if you have n different objects, then you can arrange those ordered arrangements and distinct objects. Those can be arranged in n factorial different ways. So n objects, n distinct objects can be arranged in n factorial different ways. All of those are different. बिल्कुल उसी तरह जैसे ये आपके पास ये 3 ऑब्जेक्ट्स थी, 3 डिफरेंट ऑब्जेक्ट्स थी, इनको आपने 3 फैक्टोरियल डिफरेंट वेज में अरेंज कर दिया। वो हम लिख भी सकते हैं, कौन से हैं वो? पी क्यू आर, पी आर क्यू, क्यू पी आर, क्यू आर पी, एंड देन आर पी क्यू, आर क्यू पी। ठीक है, ये 6 आपके पास, इसके अलावा और कोई पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं, इन 6 के अलावा कोई पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं। Now, case 2 is some objects indistinct का मतलब है कि वो एक जैसी हैं। मिसाल के तौर पे कि if you have letters A, B, C, D, how many permutations, how many different permutations? Answer in the chat window. इन 4 की कितनी permutations हो सकती हैं? 4 factorial. 4 factorial permutations. 4 factorial permutations. If I tell you कि A, B, C और एक और A है आपके पास. Now, how many different possible permutations? How many different possible permutations? Before you answer that, realize that कि मैं ऐसे कह सकता हूं कि इसको मैं लिखूं जैसे कि ये पहले वाले ए को, इस वाले ए को मैं A1 कह देता हूं और दूसरे वाले ए को मैं A2 कह देता हूं. So this can be written as A1, B, C and A2. So ये एक परम्यूटेशन है, A2, B, C, A1. Really, ये मैंने लेबल खाली इसको A1 और A2 कर दिया, लेकिन दोनों A ही हैं. मुझे पता है कि ये दोनों A हैं. So if you look at these two permutations, they are exactly the same. They are exactly the same, and both of them are A, B, C, A. A, B, C, A. दोनों जो हैं वो A, B, C, A हैं. मैंने A1, A2 सिर्फ अपने ध्यान में कर लिया है, इसको वर्चुअली कर लिया. But really, both of these A's are exactly the same. क्योंकि ये distinct नहीं है. These are indistinct objects. So that means कि अगर मैं इनको दो को अलग-अलग काउंट करूं, अगर मैं 4 फैक्टोरियल इसका आंसर दे दूं, that means I will be overcounting. कितना ओवर काउंट कर रहा हूं? मैं उतना ओवर काउंट कर रहा हूं बाय अ फैक्टर जो A1 और A2 की परम्यूटेशंस होती हैं. A1 और A2 उनकी आपस में कितनी परम्यूटेशंस होती हैं? 2 फैक्टोरियल परम्यूटेशंस. So I just need to divide by 2 factorial. So the number of permutations here, number of unique permutations here is going to be 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial. Number of unique permutations. Permutations by definition unique ही होती हैं, तो इसको explicitly कहने की जरूरत नहीं है. Is 4 factorial divided by 2 factorial. I will give a quick example and then we will move forward. So the example is, if you have P, Q, R, P, P. ये 5 letters हैं आपके पास. How many permutations? Answers in the chat window. How many permutations? Answers in the chat window. So everyone is saying 5 factorial over 3 factorial, and that is the correct answer. By the way, इसको solve करने के लिए 5 factorial का मतलब है 5 into 4 into 3 to 1. 3 to 1 को मैं लिख सकता हूँ 3 factorial divided by 3 factorial. So this is 5 times 4. Yeah, often useful के इसके साथ cancel कर देते हैं. Okay, so this is permutations. There are many different examples of permutations in the notes. ये मैं notes upload कर दूंगा. Please go over those before the next class. Now, another way of counting is combinations. ये permutations थी, अब हम combinations. how are combinations different from permutations? Permutations में ये होता है कि आपके पास n objects हैं, मैं कहता हूँ कितनी आपने arrangements different कर सकते हैं आप। वो ऑब्जेक्ट सारी डिस्टिंक्ट भी हो सकती हैं, कुछ उनमें रिपीटेड भी हो सकती हैं। हमने दोनों केसेस कंसीडर करनी है, केस 1 केस 2 दोनों कंसीडर करनी है। ऑल ऑब्जेक्ट्स कुड बी डिस्टिंक्ट, सम ऑब्जेक्ट्स कैन बी इनडिस्टिंक्ट। लेकिन हमारे पास जितनी ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं, n ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं, तो n के n को हमने अरेंज करना है। इफ यू हैव 35 ऑब्जेक्ट्स, यू हैव टू अरेंज ऑल 35 ऑफ दोस। कॉम्बिनेशंस के केस में you have to pick a subset. You have 35 objects and you have to pick a subset. So combinations में you are given n distinct objects, okay? And you pick r of them. How many different groups? Combinations will answer this. How many different groups? Or how many different subsets of R items from N items and distinct items? Before I answer this question, or before you answer this question, and you probably know the answer to this question from the basic probability course, हम एक example कर लेते हैं, which is easy. So 5 letters. So let's say आपके पास है A, B, C, D and E. 5 distinct letters हैं, ये 5 objects हैं. Pick a subset of 3 letters. How many different ways? Yeah, how many different groups? एक ही बात है. How many different ways can you pick these 3 letters? देखें, मैं कुछ examples देता हूं आपको. A, C, D. ये एक possibility है. Everyone agrees with that, right? A, D, E. एक और possibility है. B, C, D. ये एक और possibility, and so on and so forth. ये total कितनी possibilities हैं आपके पास? ये total कितनी possibilities हैं? In order to answer this question, हम ऐसा करते हैं कि हम वही boxes consider करते हैं. हमारे पास 3 boxes हैं और हमने इसमें letters fit करने हैं. How many different possibilities to fill the first box? How many different possibilities to fill the first box? There are 5 possibilities to fill the first box. मुझे नहीं पता A आएगा या B आएगा या C आएगा या D आएगा या E आएगा. उन 5 में से कोई एक यहाँ पे आएगा. There are 5 different ways I can fill the first box. Given that I have filled the first box, now I have 4 different possibilities to fill the second box and 3 different possibilities to fill the third box. So is this the number? 5 times 4 times 3. Is this the number? Well, इस नंबर के अंदर if you look at it, एक पॉसिबिलिटी ये हो सकती है कि पहले बॉक्स में मैंने A डाल दिया, दूसरे बॉक्स में मैंने C डाल दिया, तीसरे बॉक्स में मैंने D डाल दिया. ठीक है, ये भी हो सकता है कि पहले बॉक्स में मैंने C डाल दिया, दूसरे बॉक्स में A डाल दिया, तीसरे बॉक्स में D डाल दिया. Are these two different? These two guys are not different. These two guys, A, C, D और C, A, D जो है ये एक ही सबसेट है. ये A, B, C, D, E जो आपके पास था उसमें से आपने एक ही सबसेट में. So ये 5 times 4 times 3, this is not the right answer. although लग रहा है ऐसा रहा था कि ये right answer होगा, लेकिन इसके अंदर ये डबल काउंटिंग हो रही है. कितनी डबल काउंटिंग हो रही है? जितनी A, C, D की परमुटेशंस हैं, जितनी उन 3 की परमुटेशंस हैं. So this would be 5 times 4 times 3 divided by, उस डबल काउंटिंग से हम डिवाइड कर देते हैं जितनी भी डबल काउंटिंग हो रही है. So 3 factorial से डिवाइड कर देते हैं. This is the answer of this questions. How many different ways of picking a subset of 3 guys out of 5 guys? इसको हम कंप्लीट भी कर सकते हैं. कंप्लीट कैसे कर सकते हैं? कंप्लीट ऐसे कर सकते हैं 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 ऐसे कर दिया, और ऊपर हमने 2 times 1 किया है तो अनफेयर नीचे भी कर देते हैं times 3 factorial वैसे ही. सो ऊपर हमारे पास आ गया 5 factorial divided by 2 फैक्टोरियल डिवाइडेड बाय 3 फैक्टोरियल। इसको 5C3 भी लिखते हैं या 5 choose 3 भी लिखते हैं, ऐसे भी लिखते हैं। So now I can answer this question. Given n distinct objects, pick R of them. How many different groups? How many different groups? I will have n choose R different groups. N choose R different groups. I will give one more example before we finish off. So one quick example is, and this is an important example by the way, okay, 10 people, और ये सारे distinct हैं, सारे distinct हैं, 10 people, how many different committees of 3 people? How many different committees of 3 people? Who will give this answer in the chat window? Bilal ने आंसर किया, Usama, Mustansir. Anyone else? Anyone else? Abdurrahman, Junaid. सारे लोग एक ही आंसर कर रहे हैं. Anyone who would like to differ? 10 factorial over 7 factorial, 3 factorial, or 10 choose 3, 10 9 8 over 3 2 1. ये भी सही है. सही. So this is basically 10 में से आपने 3 लोगों की कमेटी चूज कर दी, which means 10 factorial over 3 factorial, 10 minus 3, which is 7 factorial, which is equal to 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 factorial, और नीचे ये 3 times 2 times 1, ये भी 7 factorial, और ये कट जाएंगे. So you will have 10 9 8 10 9 8 3 2 1, और इसको मजीद सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. No, so that's the answer. Now this was a very simple example. मैं इसको क्यों important कह रहा था? मैं इसको इसलिए important कह रहा था क्योंकि अब मैं इसका B part पूछने लगा हूं, और B part is how many different groups or committees of 7 people. 7 people. Answers in the chat window. Answers in the chat window. So the answer is 10 choose 7, not 10 choose 3, but it turns out that 10 choose 7 is the same as 10 choose 3, which is 10 factorial over 7 factorial 3 factorial. So ये वही आंसर है जो पहले आया था. Same answer. Thank you for everyone who realized it's the same answer. And the reason that it is the same is because if you have 10 people, and I'm saying that pick a committee of 3 people. When you pick a committee of 3 people, that means you are automatically picking another committee of 7 people. ये 3 wanted people हैं, वो 7 unwanted people वाली कमेटी बन रही है. So जितने ways में 3 की कमेटी बन सकती है, उतने ही ways में 7 की भी कमेटी बन सकती है. Exactly उतने ways में 7 की कमेटी बन सकती है. That's why these two answers are exactly the same. And the reason is these are the same is that 3 and 7 ये दोनों मिलके ये 10 हो जाते हैं. ये 10 choose 6 जो है वो ये आंसर नहीं आएगा, वो कुछ और आंसर है. So somebody has a question?
Yes sir.
जी.
Yes sir. सर ये मुझे लास्ट वाला पॉइंट ये मुझे क्लियर नहीं हुआ, मुझे समझ नहीं आया.
कौन सा वाला पॉइंट?
सर यही ये जो पॉइंट हम जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हम 10C3 कर रहे हैं, तो यहाँ तक तो मुझे समझ आया है कि उसमें से हम वो परम्यूटेशंस हम नहीं चाह रहे जो रिपीट होंगे, जो सेम होंगे. लेकिन ये जो 7 फैक्टोरियल्स आता है, ये पॉइंट जरा प्लीज अगर आप दोबारा समझा दें. थैंक यू.
ये अब मुझे पता नहीं आप किसकी बात कर रहे हैं. आप ये इस वाले बॉक्स की बात कर रहे हैं?
यस सर. इसमें यहाँ तक मुझे क्लियर. जी
ये चीज क्लियर है, ये जो रेड में है.
जी सर, इसमें 3 फैक्टोरियल तक जो हम डिवाइड कर रहे हैं, ये मुझे समझ आ गया कि क्यों कर रहे हैं. 7 से हम फैक्टोरियल क्यों कर रहे हैं, ये नहीं समझ आया.
ये समझ आने की बात नहीं है. ये तो हमने ऊपर कर लिया है कि ये 5 में से हमने जब 5 में से अगर हमने 3 चूज किए थे, तो 5 फैक्टोरियल और 2 फैक्टोरियल और 3 फैक्टोरियल हमारे पास जो आ गया था, वो क्यों आ गया था? अगर इस पे क्वेश्चन है तो फिर आपको इस पे भी एतराज होना चाहिए। अगर इस पे एतराज नहीं था, अगर इस वाले पे एतराज नहीं था, तो इसके ऊपर एतराज बनता नहीं है। तो यहां पर भी तो हमने ऐसे ही किया था, 5 फैक्टोरियल डिवाइडेड बाय 2 फैक्टोरियल डिवाइडेड बाय 3 फैक्टोरियल। 5 में से हमने 3 की कमेटी पिक करनी थी।
जी सर बिल्कुल, वहां भी मुझे वो क्लियर नहीं हुआ था, तो आई होप कि शायद वो आगे क्लियर हो जाएगा, तो इसलिए मैंने पूछ लिया है कि ये मुझे समझ नहीं आया।
ठीक है, तो आई वुड सजेस्ट कि ये जो है ना, आप ये दोबारा एक दफा इसको देख लीजिएगा कि ये आपके पास 5 लोग हैं, 5 को आपने 3 उसमें से पिक करने हैं। 5 में से जो 3 पिक करने हैं, यू हैव 3 बॉक्सेस हियर। 3 बॉक्सेस में पहले वाले में आप 5 डिफरेंट वेज 5 में से कोई सा डाल सकते हैं, दूसरे वाले में 4, तीसरे वाले में 3। ठीक है, लेकिन ये हमने सारा समझाया आपको कि ये अगर हम ऐसे करेंगे ना, तो ए सी डी और सी ए डी, ये जो 2 पॉसिबिलिटीज बनती हैं, ये दोनों एक ही पॉसिबिलिटी है, क्योंकि ये इस कमेटी में भी एसीडी है और इस कमेटी में भी एसीडी है। इसका मतलब है कि मैं इनको 2 अलग-अलग काउंट कर रहा हूं। अगर मैं सिर्फ 5 टाइम्स 4 टाइम्स 3 करूंगा, तो मैं एसीडी और सीएडी को 2 अलग-अलग काउंटिंग हो रही होगी। भाई वो तो नहीं कर सकते, वो तो अनफेयर हो जाएगा। तो मुझे उसको डिवाइड करना पड़ेगा किसी नंबर से। किस नंबर से डिवाइड करना पड़ेगा कि सीएडी और एसीडी, ये जो 3 आपके पास लेटर्स हैं, इनकी जितनी परम्यूटेशंस बनती हैं, कितने डिफरेंट वेज में आप एसीडी को अरेंज कर सकते हैं, वो हमने ऊपर देखा था परम्यूटेशंस में कि 3 फैक्टोरियल वेज में अरेंज कर सकते हैं। तो मुझे इसको 3 फैक्टोरियल से डिवाइड करना पड़ता है। तो 3 फैक्टोरियल से डिवाइड करना पड़ता है। तो फिर यहाँ पे हमने इसको 5 4 3 को ये कंप्लीट किया था, और कंप्लीट करने के बाद हमने देखा कि ये 5 फैक्टोरियल डिवाइडेड बाय 2 फैक्टोरियल 3 फैक्टोरियल आ गया। ठीक है, जिससे हमने ये डिराइव किया था कि 5 choose 3, 5C3 जो है वो इज द नंबर ऑफ वेज ऑफ पिकिंग अ कमेटी ऑफ 3 out of 5। जब वो वाला उसके ऊपर हम सेटिस्फाई हो गए, फिर हम अगली एग्जांपल के ऊपर आए। तो अगर उसी से सेटिस्फाई नहीं थे तो वहीं पे रोक लेना चाहिए था। तो लेकिन आई होप कि अब इट इज क्लियर कि ये 5 में से जब आपने 3 पिक करनी है, तो ये 5 टाइम्स 4 टाइम्स 3 नहीं हम कर सकते, वो डबल काउंटिंग उसके अंदर हो रही होगी। उसके अंदर ए सी डी और सी ए डी टाइप की जो चीजें हैं, इनको हम अलग अलग काउंट कर रहे होंगे। उस डबल काउंटिंग को हमें अवॉइड करना है, इसलिए 3 फैक्टोरियल से डिवाइड करना। ठीक है
जी सर, आप समझ आइए सर।
सही है। ये एक दफा बेशक उसको दोबारा जाके देख लीजिएगा। तो दूसरे हमारे पास ये नोट्स भी हैं, जब आप अपलोड करेंगे तो गो थ्रू दोज एंड यू विल बी यू विल सी। अगर फिर भी कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो फिर पियाजा पे पोस्ट भी कर देंगे।
ठीक, श्योर सर, थैंक यू सर।
ठीक है जी। सो वी विल स्टॉप हियर टुडे। अगर कोई और क्वेश्चंस हैं तो कर लें। देयर इज ए वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जांपल, उसके 6-7 पार्ट्स हैं, वो हमारे पास नोट्स में दी गई है। आई विल ट्राई टू अपलोड द नोट्स बाय मिड डे टुडे, या आफ्टरनून तक मैं ये अपलोड कर दूंगा। कोर्स की जो वीडियो है, इसको भी हम जो है यूट्यूब चैनल पे एक पे डाल के उसका लिंक शेयर कर लेंगे। नाउ वी हैव 2 क्वेश्चंस। उसामा, आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है?
Yes, sir. It was a request. If your notes are like digitized, can we have them prior to the lecture? Maybe we have an idea of what's coming up in the lecture.
सारे नहीं है, मुझे चेंज करने पड़ते हैं। वी कैन नॉट
Okay,
हैव इट
okay.
प्रायर टू दैट। हाँ, सारे नहीं है तो वो मुझे करने पड़ेंगे बिल्कुल। बिलाल,
सर ये पियाजा का लिंक कहाँ पे अवेलेबल है, आप रिपीट कर दीजिए।
सॉरी आपकी आवाज ठीक नहीं आ रही है।
सर ये पियाजा का लिंक कहाँ पे अवेलेबल है, आप रिपीट कर देंगे।
पियाजा का लिंक जो है LMS पे अवेलेबल है। LMS की मेन साइट के ऊपर जाएंगे ना, ये क्लास के ऊपर क्लिक करेंगे, लिंक के ऊपर सामने पियाजा का लिंक आ जाएगा। ठीक है, एनीथिंग एल्स? कोई और क्वेश्चन हो? ओके, इफ देयर आर नो मोर क्वेश्चंस, मुस्तनसर, यू हैव अ क्वेश्चन?
जी सर, वो एंटीनास वाला जो क्वेश्चन था उसके ऊपर थोड़ी सी मेरे था कि उसको हम कॉम्बिनेशंस के थ्रू जो है वो करेंगे।
कौन सा वाला क्वेश्चन?
जो हमने स्टार्ट में किया था कि 4 एंटीनास, उसमें से एग्जैक्टली 2 एंटीनास जो हैं वो डिफेक्टिव हैं।
हाँ जी,
तो इसको हम कॉम्बिनेशन वाले से कि कितने कॉम्बिनेशंस ऐसे?
इसको नहीं, इसको उससे नहीं करेंगे। आई विल लीव दैट एज एन एक्सरसाइज। ये हमने वैसे नोट्स के अंदर सॉल्व किया हुआ है उसको, जेनेरिक केस के अंदर भी, लेकिन आई विल लीव दैट एज एन एक्सरसाइज। इसको कॉम्बिनेशन से हम इसलिए नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि ये देखें, इसमें जो 2 गुड एंटेनास हैं और 2 बैड एंटेनास हैं, ये एक जैसे ही है, डिस्टिंक्ट नहीं है। कॉम्बिनेशंस के लिए अप्लाई करने के लिए हमारे पास ऑब्जेक्ट्स का डिस्टिंक्ट होना जो है वो जरूरी होता है, एंड डिस्टिंक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट्स। ठीक है, तो डायरेक्टली उस पे कॉम्बिनेशन या परमुटेशन नहीं लगेंगी, कुछ ट्रिक लगानी पड़ेगी उसके ऊपर, एंड दैट ट्रिक इज एक्सप्लेन्ड इन द नोट्स जो हम शेयर करेंगे, ठीक है।
मेरे को ठीक हो गया, जज़ाकल्लाह सर।
ठीक है, any other question? Okay, we are already a little bit over time, so I am going to stop here and we will share the video और उसका लिंक आपसे जो LMS के ऊपर शेयर कर लेंगे। Is there anyone who is not yet on LMS जिनके पोर्टफोलियो पे ये कोर्स ना आ रहा हो? Anyone? किसी ने लेट रजिस्टर किया हो, उसके LMS में ये कोर्स ना नजर आ रहा हो? Nobody. ठीक है, great, thank you. Okay जी, I'll see you on Friday, same time.